They say that you should always trust your gut, but this time, my gut choice did not make the right one. See, my parents were begging me not to marry this girl that they told me not to. They said she was bad for me, they said that they read her soul, or whatever they're talking about there, and they said that she would eventually take everything from me. Well, you know what? I didn't see it. I loved her. Everything about her, I knew I had to be with her. She was the one. Well, it turns out my parents were right. She divorced me, took everything from me, at least 50% of it, but she got the house which my parents are currently living in, and you won't believe this. After she cheated on me, after she took everything away from me, she had the audacity to try to kick my parents out of their home. Well, you know what? That's too far. It's been months since I've been betrayed, humiliated, but I'm not able to focus on my life. All I want is the person who did this to me to suffer. It feels like that's the only way I can sleep peacefully at night. That's why I've made a decision, but I'm not really sure if it's the right one. I believe that the internet is ruthless enough when it comes to doing the right thing, so I'll tell you what happened without hiding anything. And I want you guys to tell me if what I'm planning to do is right or not. You can call me Jeff, and the reason behind my current condition is my ex-wife Kayla. She's the reason I cannot sleep at night, because every time I do, I see her laughing at me and telling me how easily she fooled me. Okay, time for some context. I met Kayla about 5 years ago during an event we both were attending. From the day I met her, I knew Kayla was way smarter than me, and she was also better looking. But I found this attractive and asked her for a number. A few weeks later, we started dating, and after a few months, we became serious. Over a year later, we were deeply in love. I was already doing financially well from the start, but by this time, I was making a lot of money. I don't come from a financially stable family, as my parents were normal middle-class people. But with a bit of hard work and luck, I managed to make us financially stable. This is a bit off topic, but I can't explain even how happy it made me to see my parents jump with joy when I told them that they would never ever have to care about bills again. Even though I have made some mistakes along the way, I can happily say that my parents are still proud of me. I think they do believe that I should have listened to them when they warned me about Kayla. Well, when Kayla and I became really serious, I took her to meet my parents. I feel the need to explain this because I fully believe that Kayla was the best choice for a partner. She was caring, loving, kind, beautiful, and smart. I mean, what else could I want? I took her to see my parents, and it was surprising to see both my parents not vibe with her. This should have been my first clue, because I've never seen my parents dislike anyone. They're the kind of people who look at a silver lining in everything. The kind of people who always believe the glass is half full. So seeing them dislike someone should have rung huge red flag warning bells in my head, but hey, I was so in love, so I was essentially blind. After she left, my parents told me that they didn't want me to marry her because they got bad feelings. Feelings that she was after my wealth, or something like that. I don't even know, really. Ugh. Well, Kayla was a lot poorer than us, but judging her on that, I don't know, it felt stupid. So guys, I actually went against everything they said and I married her. By far, I'll tell you, it was the biggest mistake I've ever made. Because my parents were so against her. Kayla didn't like them either, and they didn't even come to our wedding. Can you believe that? After the marriage, my parents cut us off for almost 2 whole years. They were that angry at me, but I kept apologizing and begging them to talk to me. And over a year ago, Dad finally called and apologized for what they did. Kayla had officially proven them wrong because she had not done anything else except be the best wife she could be. My parents also apologized to her and she told them it's no biggie. But none of us, especially me, had any clue what Kayla was about to do. A few months later, one random day, a friend of mine calls me and asks me where my wife was. I told him she's at work, and he said that he actually saw her with a good-looking guy walking hand in hand in a nearby town. He said that he at first believed it was maybe a relative or something, but she was way too close. So, he wanted to confirm. I laughed and asked him to stop making jokes, buddy. He said that this was not a joke, and if he had not lost them in the crowd, he would have took a picture. I texted Kayla and she told me she's at work, so this made me sure that it could not have been her. I told my friend the same, but he swore up and down he saw her. I refused to believe him over the love of my life. But almost a month later, it happened again, and I could not believe it, and this time it was my best friend Freddie, who saw Kayla with someone else. Every time I think about it, it just makes me sad. One night, Fred called me and asked me where my wife was, and I told him she was doing overtime at work for an event. He said he just saw her enter a club with some tall guy. I told him he was drunk, but he swore she went in. He begged me to believe him, but I kept telling him to let it go. When he didn't, I got mad at him and asked him to stay out of my personal life. He told me he's looking out for me. I told him I didn't need him to. Still, he went in, but he couldn't find them and guessed that they were in some private room. It made me mad, and we had a huge argument. I told him I didn't need a friend like him, and it broke his heart. That day, we cut each other off and have not spoken since. It makes me really sad that I lost my best friend because I believed that witch. A few months later, I was hit with the same papers that made me realize that everyone else except Kayla was telling the truth. I was sitting at my work desk doing some work, and Kayla came into the room. Her expression looked blank, and I asked her what's going on. She told me she had something for me and gave me some papers. I took a look and realized she had filed for a divorce. I was so shocked that I could not even move or talk. After a few deep breaths, I asked her what's going on. She did not even do the courtesy of telling me the truth. She just said that she could not live with me anymore and she did not love me. Then, even though I was begging her not to, she packed her bags and left. All I could do was sit there and cry and think about what I did, as I had not yet realized that things were going to look a lot worse soon. She was asking for a 50% lot of everything I had, and there was no way that I could fight it. It's just how the system is against us. Even though I built most of it without her, she still got to take everything I had. But that was not even the worst part of it. So, about 2 months before she filed for a divorce, she had asked me for a favor. I had just bought a house for my parents to live in, and it was a really great home. Kayla asked me to make her the owner of the property because she had to show someone for something I don't remember. As you well know, I trusted her more than myself and happily gave her the house. How could I have known she was about to do something like this? The divorce and her leaving were so much that I did not even remember that I had given her the house. When I did, I begged her to give that to my parents as it was meant to be theirs, and she told me she would think about it, and guess what she did? She went there unannounced and kicked my parents out. My dad calls me crying because he had fallen in love with the place. That's the first time I had ever heard my dad cry. It broke my heart and made me feel like the biggest loser on the planet. But all I could do was watch as she backstabbed me, humiliated me and my parents, and destroyed my life. Currently, she's in a happy relationship with the same guy that she was cheating on me with. I can't tell you if she planned to do this from the start or if she just fell in love with someone else and did this. But to me, it doesn't matter. All that matters is what she did to me. I loved her, and I stood by her even when my own parents wanted me to leave her. And this is how she repaid me. It's been a few months now, but I can't sleep. I cannot move on, and my parents want me to forget her, but that's not even possible. I can't bear the fact that she's living happily after doing all this to me. So I've decided to take revenge. I don't know how, but I want to ruin her life just like she did mine. I know my parents would not like this, so I didn't bother to ask them. So I want you guys to tell me, what in the world should I do? Update number 1, it's been a few weeks. Well, I'm sure a few of you guys cannot wait to hear what I decided, so I'll start without wasting your time. I want to make something crystal clear from the get-go. I did not post here imagining people would fully support me and say that I was doing the right thing. I don't have any desire to be called right or a good person. What I've learned from the past experience is that good people suffer, while evil people like Kayla use good people to live a happy life. I know that you cannot clean a pool full of mud without getting some of yourself dirty. That's not what I was afraid of. I'm happy being the wrong person. I am. What I wanted to see was if it would be the right step for me. I didn't want to go through all this while risking making my parents angry and still being unhappy in the end. But after reading advices from a lot of you guys, I realized that there's a good chance that making her miserable will make me happy. Seeing her happy is making me miserable, so vice versa should work. That's the theory behind my decision, plus I can't just let her go after everything that she did to me. Many of you guys told me that revenge is for the weak. Well, if it means making Kayla miserable, I'm weak. Right now, I don't feel strong anyways, and I don't have the patience to wait for karma even if it's real. So a few days after my post, I decided that I was going to go through with the revenge. What I didn't tell you guys before is that even after the divorce, I've been keeping tabs on Kayla. Secretly, of course. I want her to keep thinking I'm still miserable and trying to move on. A prey that doesn't know that it's being targeted is easy to hunt. That's one useful thing Dad taught me, as he used to be a hunter back in the day. She has not even moved that far away, but has changed jobs. She's living in a town close to the city, the first place where a friend of mine spotted her. She lives with her boy toy Damien, who has a good job in a tech company. I even know a person who works with him. If you thought I wasn't serious, well, now you know. The first thing I did after making my decision was meet my best friend Freddie. Ever since Kayla left me, I wanted to apologize to him, but he was out of state and wasn't answering my calls. He came back a few days ago, so I went to see him. He didn't want to talk, but I forced him to listen and what I had to say to him, and I apologized for not listening. His anger dissolved immediately, and he told me that he had not heard and apologized for not being there. I told him I was the one who made the mistake of cutting him off. After that, I told him that I was planning on doing something, and he warned me that revenge might not make me happy. I told him I was willing to take the risk, and he agreed to help me. I actually started sobbing when he just said immediately that he was ready to help. I kept apologizing to him for being a bad friend, and he asked me to stop. We have started planning, but we don't have a fixed plan yet that I can share. I'll let you guys know what to do. You know, if you have any ideas, please, I'm begging you, share them. Update number 2. Guys, it's been a few months. Let me tell you what happened 2 months later. Even to this day, I've made sure that Kayla has no idea that I'm doing something like this. It's also my good luck that she does not care about me enough to think about me. But even as a precaution, I have maintained the same miserable act in front of everybody who's still linked with her. She's probably thinking I'm too depressed to do anything. Okay, so remember how I said I knew where Kayla's new boyfriend Damien worked, and that I knew a person who worked very close to him. The only reason I got to know him was because I knew I could use him to do something. So me and Fred decided we start with Damien, as we had nothing on Kayla yet. I decided to hire an expert to follow her, a private investigator, hoping that we would get something out of it, but we were told it will take time. Well, that too if she has something to hide. So after a few weeks, Fred and I decided that it was not a good option to just wait for her to do something. I already had an inside man, so Damien became an easy target. As soon as I told his coworker I would pay, he immediately agreed to help us. Turns out Damien was his competition at work, so it was a win-win for him. So the coworker stole some important company files for us and placed them in his workspace. Then Damien was told that he needs to drop the files to some customers and he was in a hurry. He didn't notice anything. We had actually contacted a rival company pretending to be Damien and told them that he was bringing the files to leak some information. Damien dropped the file without realizing it, and a week later the company found out. Well, we made sure they found out that, quote, somebody sent the photos of Damien's meeting with the people of the other company, and the fact that he had sensitive company files hidden at his desk did not help him anyways. He was angry and tried his best to explain that he was innocent, which he was not. The coworker told us that he was sure Damien was actually leaking the information, but he was doing it discreetly and not to their direct competitor. He then got kicked out of his position, and his company is actively suing him. Honestly, I can't tell you what I expected to happen after this, but I did not expect Damien to hide all this from Kayla. I believe that Kayla would be a bit hurt after finding this out, but the fact that he didn't tell her makes it way better, because now when I feed her this information at the best time possible, it's going to hurt her even more. So after we did all this, Fred asked me if we were done. I told him that it wasn't enough. He had only lost his job, and thanks to the divorce, Kayla has enough money to not worry about him losing his job. Our work is only starting. Hope you're enjoying it as much as I am. Update number 3. Guys, it's been over a month. Kayla's actually gotten engaged with Damien, but their engagement party did not go as well as she had hoped. Let me tell you what happened. I was busy for a few weeks and was very surprised to hear that Damien had proposed even though he was going through a lot. I had not expected him to do something like this, and hearing that they got engaged made me really happy. That's because it gave me the best place to reveal this at the party. The engagement party. It was a few days later, so me and Fred collected proof that Damien had gotten kicked from his job and was getting actively sued. This was the perfect chance I was waiting on, and I can't tell you how excited I was. We also had a few friends inside the event who would have been more than happy to share what happened on the inside walls, as they do love a bit of gossip, so I knew I was not going to miss anything even if I heard about it later. So we sent all the proof as a gift and made sure that Kayla looked at it during the party. Now, what happened at the party was described to me by a friend, so I can't tell you exactly the full exact truth. He might have, added some details to it to make it more dramatic, but from what I was told, most of what he said seems to be exactly true, so I don't know. Okay, immediately after reading the proof somebody had sent her, Kayla starts laughing because she didn't believe it. She thought that it was someone trying to cause problems in her happy days. She actually went laughing to her husband to show him what she had seen, but he didn't laugh back. Damien decided that lying at that point was useless and told her and everyone there the truth. He did explain that he had done nothing that the company was blaming him for, so he didn't want to tell anyone. He wanted to first prove his innocence, as he didn't want people to think he was that type of guy. Kayla could not believe it, and she felt humiliated, as everyone was looking at her and talking. The more Damien tried to explain, the worse the situation got, and out of nowhere, Kayla just scrimped at him and yelled and called him a liar and a thief. She starts crying and told him that he had not even told her about this and that they were about to get married. She could not believe that he had hidden this from her and got so mad that she decided to just leave. She packed her stuff right then and there, and even though everyone asked her to wait and listen, she left. Damien begged her not to, but she told him she was done with his lies and left. It felt funny hearing her not being able to tolerate being lied to after what she did to me. As much as I wish I could have seen this, I think hearing about it was just as good. Knowing that she's miserable right now makes me happy. Anyway, so this is everything that happened. Fred and I have also found something else out, but we want to keep it a surprise. I'll let you guys know as soon as we can use it. Final update, months later. Surprisingly, it only took a few weeks for Kayla to forgive her fiancé and they got back together. Well, they even moved up the wedding. I was already expecting that, but it happened a little sooner than I had hoped. So I and Freddie got to work. I don't think I've mentioned this, but Kayla was not the only person that betrayed me. Her parents, or my ex-in-laws, also did the same thing, as they knew what was going to go down with me. And they did not even try to stop her from kicking my parents out after I begged them to. I knew that I had to do something about them because they deserved it. So me and Fred had my ex-father-in-law follow up and made a note of his routine. Then I paid a beautiful girl to bump into him a few days a week, and they became friends after she asked him for help. He was happy to help, and we took photos of them hanging out, making it look like he's a cheater. A few good photoshops, plus a ton of fake text, made it seem very believable. Then I sent a guy who pretended to be the girl's boyfriend and spoke to my ex-mother-in-law. He told her that her husband was cheating with his girlfriend and he just wanted to let her know too. He even had a confession from her. As you can imagine, my mother-in-law, or ex-mother-in-law, was pretty upset. And long story short, they're now getting a divorce. The father-in-law could not convince her that all of this was not true, and she threw him out of the house. He had to move in with Kayla, who was pretty stressed, and before even her preparations were done for her wedding, I broke her parents up. This was enough for me, as I had only one last thing I wanted to do. Call it to the grand finale of my revenge. About 2 months later, Kayla went through with the wedding, even though her parents had just gotten divorced. I wish I could tell you how she felt or how she reacted, but I don't have any of that information. But I think it would be fair to say that she was pretty sad and surprised why all this was happening to her. Maybe she was blaming karma, who knows? So last time I told you about how me and Fred found something, right? Well, that's exactly what I planned on using during the wedding. The PI I had put on her told me that throughout this investigation, he found out that she had slept with 2 different men. One was before the engagement and one was right after, but after that she stopped. But that was more than enough, so we contacted these dudes, and one of them agreed to help us. A few days before the wedding, we approached Damien and told him how his soon-to-be wife cheated. He didn't even believe it, but I didn't want him to, see, I just wanted there to be doubt. Then right before the wedding started, we sent Damien an important package that had all the proof of the cheating. This time, Fred himself went because we could not risk it. As soon as Damien saw everything, he lost his marbles. I don't understand why he believed that a person who cheated on me with him would not do the same thing again, duh. Fred, Actually made a video so that I could experience what happened, so Damien accused Kayla, and after trying to make excuses, she accepted she cheated on him one time. But we had given proof that she had cheated several times. Then she told him that she had cheated one more time, but that's it. At this point, Damien was done with her and slapped her and left, canceling the wedding, and Kayla even begged him just to believe her and not leave her at the altar, but he told her that she was not marriage material, and after that, he left. Well, this is everything I intended to do. Everything else happened on its own. After Damien left her, Kayla became such a depressive person that she could not even go to work. After about 2 months, they fired her, and she had a ton of loans on her head that she could not pay. She said that she had spent a lot of money on the wedding. So, just to keep herself afloat, she decides to sell the house she took from my parents, and guess who bought it? That's right, I did. Well, before leaving, I told her that there was no way I was going to let her live happily ever after for what she did to me. Oh no, well, that's not what I did. Now she can suffer just like I did. She couldn't speak a word. She was still trying to believe what I had just told her. It's been a week since then, and I have to say I feel quite good about what I did. She deserved it. I have zero regrets, so don't waste your time telling me I'm in the wrong here. I know that, and I'm happy with it. Now I can focus on my life. I'm going to surprise my parents with the house soon. Guys, thank you so much for going through all this with me. You guys were so much help.